It's Sunday, and today we are going to look at some research about fetal heartbeats. When stories started coming out about fetal heartbeats after Texas created the heartbeat bill, I was lost and confused with all the new information. At one point, articles were coming out that said the heartbeat of a fetus cannot actually be heard at week 6, but the ultrasound machine actually creates a heartbeat sound for parents. This one blew my mind, especially because I wondered, why had this never been said before? It seemed like convenient information to relay at that moment, and it could not possibly be correct, but a ploy to change the bill or say that it was based on incorrect information. This sent me down a month-long process to find everything I could on fetal heartbeats so I could make my own conclusion and be able to understand the arguments being made. In this search, I found a paper and an article that gave me great insight into the fetal development. The first is titled Human Cardiac Development in the First Trimester, a High-Resolution MRI and Endoscopic Fluorescence Image Capture Atlas. That was a mouthful, and it is just that. This paper has MRI scans of a developing heart throughout the developmental phase of the fetus. Although a lot of it was in great detail, and to some extent detail I cannot honestly say I understand completely, there was one chart near the end of the paper that gave me the exact information I had been seeking. The link to both of these sources are in the bio of this episode and well worth taking the time to read. But this chart lists out each step in the development of the heart and establishes time of each aspect of development and the full length of the entire development of the fetal heart. The reason this answered most of the questions I had about fetal heartbeats is because it showed that the heart started development at 6 weeks and finished near the end of 9 weeks. Thus, the heart is not actually functional until almost 10 weeks. That makes sense, and like most things in my research, brought validity to both sides of the argument in the heartbeat bill. Lord, I hate perspective sometimes. With this knowledge, I can see how one could say that the moment the heart has started development, that signifies that the organ is present even if the heart is not pumping on its own. On the other hand, however, I can see how the fact that the heart is not fully developed or beating, one could say that the heartbeat bill is at the very least misleading, if not downright wrong. The second source is an article written on factcheck.org. As everyone should have learned in high school, always check your sources. So I have looked into the site and its founders. The site and the article are quite neutral and fair in the way the site is presented and the research that is done in the article. But you should definitely check it out for yourself because it is very informative and offers full references at the end of it for all the sources used. This article specifically helped with the question of when the heartbeat can be heard. When I read that the ultrasound machine just makes the sound rather than it actually being the fetal heartbeat, I was floored. From what I came to understand, most doctors do not really check for a heartbeat until weeks 10 or 13. The ultrasound picks up movement in the heart while it beats. There is the option of using a transvaginal ultrasound device, which is a probe that goes into the vagina and can be better at picking up the sound at week 6 or 8. Even this one can be unsuccessful depending on the amount of tissue the sound has to travel through before reaching the probe. The author apparently went so far as to read the product manual. I wish I had thought of that, but anyway. It stated, "It is important to remember that the sound you hear is an artificial sound. The frequency, or pitch, of what is proportional to the velocity of the moving target. It is not the real sound made by blood rushing through an artery or vein, or movement of the fetal heart." Finally, I got an answer and was once again floored. I continued to wonder why this had never come up before. It seems something that would be told to parents when they get an ultrasound, but it isn't. Only after these controversies about abortion started heating up have people looked into such questions. I, for one, am at least happy for the controversies because it means that I've been able to learn a whole lot more about fetal development, equipment used to monitor or check such development, and become that much more informed about a subject very important to me as a woman. If you are interested in commenting about this episode, you are welcome to. You can either send me an email at lawlessconversations@yahoo.com. That is LAWLESSCONVERSATIONS @yahoo.com. You can also comment on Twitter at Lawless Convos, LAWLESSCONVOS. Finally, you can also contact me on Facebook if you just look for Lawless Conversations, 2 different words, LAWLESSCONVERSATIONS. I look forward to hearing from you. The references to any sources that I use in each episode will be available in the bio, along with all of these social media connections. Join me next week as we look at the concept of trying to ban abortion and how feasible that really is. Thank you for joining me for this episode. I look forward to Wednesday.